Hi, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. It is a great pleasure to be part of today's webinar. Thanks, Renato, for welcoming me in. Just a couple of words about myself. My name is Katya. I have previous experience as a socioeconomic analyst and also some experience in the nuclear industry across nuclear tech and healthcare, agriculture, and energy. I'm very happy to be part of the Nebulai team. And today we're going to discuss various opportunities that Nebulai is exploring in the field of artificial intelligence and decentralized marketplace. As we discussed several times, Nebulai is registered in the United States, but it's exploring opportunities across the world. So I hope that's going to be quite exciting to see how we're exploring different socioeconomic environments across the world and what Nebulai can offer. So the agenda of today's webinar, Renato, can you please show the second slide? The agenda of today's webinar is, first of all, the importance of AI in your digital transformation journey, the Nebulai Intelligent Talent and Solutions Marketplace. We're going to discuss AI strategy, business value, and assessing your business's AI readiness. We are going to look through top AI cases and frameworks for AI adoption. And then we're gonna finish with the next steps and a Q&A session. So I would like to pass the word to Victor. Victor, please, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Katya. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you may be. And thank you again for joining us. I am Victor Bai. I've just joined the Nebulai team about 2 months ago after spending about 30 years in the tech sector, the majority of which was focused on customer engagement, customer experience. And as that industry changed and morphed into the cloud and more into the software side, the need for AI and the impact of AI on that particular industry became very apparent to me. And I saw the value proposition of Nebulai and decided that this was where I wanted to work. I also want to point out that Renato and I, just in the spirit of the season, decided to wear our ugly sweaters today. So we're going to take a poll at the end of the call and help you decide who has the ugliest sweater. And I think I'm going to win on that one. And so I'll just jump right into the reason that we think you should create an AI strategy really aligned with organizational goals, right? They go hand in hand. And I'm not going to read this entire slide, but as you can see, we really believe that developing an AI strategy is not only advantageous, but also essential for all organizations now. Those that don't may be left behind. So the cost of doing nothing is really great. And AI can help your business in the areas of efficiency and productivity, in particular by automating routine tasks, innovation, by really helping you with new strategies for your business, whether that means strategizing on where your business has been and where it's headed, or looking at ways in which AI can be infused into your go-to-market product strategy and so on. Of course, cost savings and optimization and resource optimization come with automation and essentially automating routine tasks. And so next slide, please. AI really plays a big role, and this is, in my opinion, the largest and most impactful area for AI to play for most organizations is in the customer experience and employee experience. Most organizations these days are operating antiquated interactive voice response systems that can frustrates your customers, as opposed to really serving them efficiently and accurately. And that's what AI really does, is it helps you serve those customers efficiently and accurately. I mean, think about the number of times you may have called into a contact center and you get that IVR system, and you know that that IVR system cannot answer your questions. If it could, you wouldn't mind interacting with an application, a bot, if you will, that would be able to resolve your issue. But you know that those antiquated systems can't, and so you end up shouting at it, representative, representative, or hitting the zero to try to get past it. Well, AI changes all of that, and we'll tell you how it does that. It also helps with risk mitigation and corporate compliance, and aids in data-driven decision making. So in essence, it really supports almost every aspect of the business. Next slide, please. I want to address one key and important point with respect to AI and a misperception about AI, and that is that AI is a bunch of robotic applications that replace jobs. It takes jobs away from people. And while AI does a great deal to help reduce the need for headcount for those tasks or roles that are repetitive, mundane tasks, it really does a great deal to revolutionize people's roles in the organization. And it helps do that by eliminating routine tasks and also by augmenting human capabilities. So think of a contact center agent who may be relatively new to the organization, maybe hasn't had a lot of training. You know how difficult it can be to staff your contact center. And then think about an AI system that is listening to that customer interaction and can provide that agent with information on a specific product or process or their account in the background instantaneously while that agent is interacting with the customer. It makes that agent just so much more productivity, almost by giving them superpowers, if you will. And so in that way, it automates tasks and enhances efficiency. And again, we mentioned the data-driven support. So this is why it's really important to have an AI strategy for your organization and understand what it does and what it does not do. Okay, next slide, please. So with that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, who will be covering the bulk of the agenda, Renato Garro. And so Renato, please go to the next slide. Renato has a very diverse set of 15 years of experience in the tech sector that covers areas such as blockchain and AI, robotic process automation, and machine learning. Renato has held roles as the engineering manager for Google Cloud, and he has led the adoption of new cloud technologies in that role, as well as having held roles in management with Microsoft and NetApp. And so as a founder of Nebulai, Renato is very well positioned to relate to you not only the value of AI, but how Nebulai can help your organization devise and deploy an AI strategy. So with that, Renato, the floor is yours. It's you and your ugly sweater from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. And thanks everybody for making the time during your probably lunchtime, or if you're on the West Coast, about to get ready for that. So thanks very much for the opportunity to share a little bit on AI and who we are with Nebulai. First of all, like Victor said, one of the co-founders here at Nebulai. And Nebulai is a Miami-based technology for good company. We are a marketplace that brings together humans and AI agents to seamlessly collaborate with organizations. We have specializations from our solution providers across multiple specializations, including AI, cloud, RPA, IoT, blockchain, and we have a vast network of talent that can be deployed for any innovation projects or helping you define new ways to disrupt the marketplace with your company. So that's a little bit on us, a little bit on kind of like the team here. Just as a high level, we come from the big tech sector in consulting backgrounds, and multiple members of the team have been part of multiple startup organizations and big tech organizations. So very strong team. This is kind of like the core team, but we have an extended team that can be deployed and execute multiple projects across different industries. So yeah, super happy to be part of this amazing team. A little bit on how we see this presentation moving forward. Really, as Victor was mentioning, AI and setting up a strategy for your organization is critical at this point. A lot of companies have been using or playing with like the newer, let's say, AI toys, including the conversational and the chatbots, AI models, and most of us, I think, we have realized that AI is here to really stay and make a big disruption in the marketplace. So we see setting up your AI strategy as a way for you and your organization to define in a really strong, sustainable competitive advantage. And that is really what's going to empower the future of your organization. So a little bit on the journey of AI, for maybe just recap for the ones that are kind of maybe newer to AI, and then kind of like as a setting up a baseline for everybody. We started with artificial intelligence as a broad field in computer science to replicate, really create machines that can replicate human intelligence. From there, we moved on to machine learning, which is taking a computer system that can develop or be programmed to be developed or mimic specific kind of processes or make specific predictions based on some input data or learning data sets. And that went well, but the challenge there is that machine learning had to be redefined every time we needed to train those models for different data sets or different use cases. So it was a very time-consuming process, including getting more data sets or changing the algorithms to be able to achieve the outcome you're looking for. That's when kind of like deep learning came into play, where we use neural networks to be able to essentially develop a model based on the data set. And then based on this model, the model makes some level of predictions on the data set. And, kind of like one of the bigger examples of this for, let's say, popular culture is this, if you guys have seen the movie Go, basically it's like you have a deep learning model that plays against the best players in Go, which is a table game, more complicated than chess. And this machine learning was able to beat the best players in Go, which at the time was kind of like so complicated that there was no way a computer system would have been able to execute the same level of complex moves and tactics. So with deep learning, humans were able to create a deep learning system that can beat any other player in Go, and that kind of showed the potential of this model, right? And those kind of like models have been used for different use cases in biotech, in healthcare, and of course in computer science and technology, in business and finance and so on. But now with what we see, which is generative AI, is having a model that is called a transformer model that can make some level of predictions, and also content generation, which is the most important piece here, based on the data set that it was trained on. For the most popular models, they were trained on the corpus of data, which includes the internet, open source documentation, books, and other information that were fed into the models. The models then make a series of transformations on the data and predictions, and based on that, really come up with the next most probable answer based on the question you asked. And then from there, really, you can generate text, or you can generate images, music, videos, and so on. And now we're moving into the era of multimodal generative AI, which is a model that can work with not only text, but can work with multiple inputs like video, audio, and so on at the same time. And this gives the model a better understanding of the world. There is, claims that we're reaching what we call artificial general intelligence, but that is to be seen. But it means that a model basically creates some sort of understanding or a framework of reality in a way that they can have almost like common sense and understand questions and deduce answers from all the training data set that it was provided during the learning phases. So that's a little bit on AI, right? And now when we look at how does that fit into what we see today, really, there is 4 pillars of AI strategy, and what big consulting organizations mention, and what we also see is that companies really need to set up a strong vision for the use of AI, which is kind of like, how do you guys plan to use AI to disrupt your business, and what are the opportunities you see in AI, and kind of like what could be the ways where AI can help you increase your top line growth, or reduce your bottom line. So then those things are kind of like really very strategic thinking that has to happen with the top leadership in the organization to get together, understand what are the use cases of AI, and define what could be the vision of the company, whether it's going to use AI for everyday task or productivity, or for game-changing initiatives. Then define the value that you can get from AI, and also look at the risks that come with AI, right? Which is experimenting with newer technologies, has to do with multiple aspects of the organization, and sometimes there could be risks that you have to kind of like mitigate, or just have an understanding of what could be the potential ramifications of implementing AI in your organization. And then finally, adopting AI in the organization, building a skill set in the organization, implementing the technologies, and rolling it out so that it becomes something that is widely usable for the company. So those are the kind of like the different levels of adoption there. When you look at kind of how companies should assess their AI readiness, not every company, let's say, it's completely ready to adopt AI. Companies, yes, could set up some sort of like, simple AI in the front end of their website, like a chatbot, and that can give you a lot of value. But if you just want to implement AI just because it's cool, then really you're leaving a lot behind. Really, I think there's a bigger opportunity. It's the tip of the iceberg. Kind of like those easy to implement AIs. Here we're looking at the whole stack, really, from the bottom up, the organization, the governance, the leadership, and the culture. This ties into the vision that we mentioned about setting up your company vision on AI. What is going to be the architecture and the technology that your organization will use? Are you going to build AI in-house? Are you going to use AI from third-party providers? Are you going to leverage the cloud to be able to leverage services that are ready to consume in the cloud? What are the privacy and ethics considerations? If you're in a regulated industry, do you have to abide by specific regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI, FINRA, and so on? What are those things, and how can they relate to the adoption of AI and the use of information that could be captured and learned from the data that is gathered by the AI models? What are the human skills that you're building in the organization? Kind of like, do you have an AI champ in the organization, in the board of directors? Is your CIO a person that can understand all the different AI models? Do you need a chief AI officer in the organization? Do you have a team of developers that specialize in AI, or either in-house or through a third-party provider, for example, or partner, right? What is your data set? You can look at data sets, structured data, unstructured data. And then the most critical data is really data that is not data that is collected, but data that was generated only for purposes of your company. For example, your business model, schematics, IP, something that is very specific and you can only generate as a company. That is the most valuable data that there is today. You know, people say data is the new oil or gold or whatever you want to analogy you want to use, but that is really what is the most important. That data that is unique to your company that nobody else can collect. Because the data that can be collected can also be bought. So then, you know, that's not such a big problem. Then AI portfolio. Do you have a portfolio of AI solutions in your company that you may be using today you're not aware of? Kind of like having a map of those solutions is something to do. And then what other use cases and business integration can be driven from AI? And all this comes from the vision and strategy that can be generated. We advise companies to generate a vision and strategy AI document for every organization. That doesn't have to be something very complex, but it's something at least that maps out all these different layers, right? And having at least an understanding of where you stand today. So once you define this vision and AI strategy, then the next thing is to go after game-changing AI, because we can all implement everyday AI, and there's a distinction between the two. So on this quadrant, you see on left, where you see everyday AI, right, which is kind of like back office, front office, and then game-changing AI, which is core capabilities of your businesses and products and services. Everyday AI could be something simple, like one of these, models that allows you to do work in a more productive way. On the front office, it could be a chatbot on your website and things like that. But those could be, let's say today could be something that would be innovative or something like that. But as more companies start adopting AI, it's going to be more common that all companies start adopting those technologies, and it becomes like a website. When before, websites were widely adopted, few companies had websites, and then most companies who had websites, and now all companies should have a website. So the same thing with AI, right? So some companies will start using AI, then most companies, and then all companies will have to use AI. For the front office or the back office. But that's not enough, because everybody can do that, because you can buy products and services and everybody can implement that. That doesn't give you a competitive advantage. Really, what you want to do is use AI for something that you cannot buy from a provider, because not because of just building something, but because it is something that is truly disruptive, and you could only implement it because you're the only company that has this specific data set, or this specific business model, or this specific way of engaging your customers, or processing transactions, or driving revenue. And also using AI to improve the feedback loop mechanism between your enterprise service bus, right, which is how your organization is set up and all the information that it collects across multiple areas of the business, into building new products and services. How can that feedback loop be augmented by using AI? Today, what happens is all this enterprise service bus collects information, and most companies have like Tableau, Power BI, Looker, and so many other tools that they use to be able to look at the past, the current, the future, and analyze this information. But it's a human looking at this, right? Once you have AI, the AI doesn't have the limitations that we do as humans, which is looking at reports, analyzing data, whether technical or just, as far as kind of like capability limitations. AI can look at all the data at once in real time, analyze the data, looking at all the potential forecasting models that are available to humankind, and so on, right? So that is game-changing AI. Using AI to be able to now get insights that can help you create better products, better services, and then that helps you with the top line. So then when you look at your AI strategy, you have to look at the use cases, which was the last layer on the pie there. And then when you look at use cases, you have to define whether it's a everyday AI use case or a game-changing AI use case. So when you look at, those kind of like the formula really for defining the use cases really comes from the simplification of kind of like having an organization that wants to adopt AI, that has an AI strategy, having the technology in place, the data that is AI ready. Like I said, yes, you can implement AI in many ways without having to do many things to the data, but in most cases, organizations have data across multiple business units, different systems that are not talking to each other. So how can you create a single common repository of data that can be used to be able to run AI on top of that and really categorize the data? Because a lot of companies even have this big data lakes, right? But they haven't categorized the data. So then they don't know what's a good data, what's a bad data. And that is a problem. When you create AI, the quality of the data is what matters to the models, because if you feed a model good data, then it's going to have better predictions. It's going to have less outliers and less false positives and so on. So that's going to help you have a model that's more effective, and then defining those use cases for the quickest time to value. Some of the AI top use cases in today could be many, but here are just some examples. Of course, customer experience is kind of like low-hanging fruit, right? If you're talking to customers today, maybe you have a website, do you have a chatbot that can interact with your customers instead of just having the customer go through all the pages on your website? The chatbot basically helps the customer navigate through the website. Also helping your customers with providing recommendations for buying products or services, or customer service in general. Maybe you have a call center and then you have an agents call the customers. You will have an agent that can do a portion of that interaction with the customer, whether on outreach or on the inbound calling. The agent can also assist the human agents to be more effective. So those are things that can help you with customer experience. Supply chain AI can be used for supply chain to be able to predict the inventory levels, time to stock, what providers are the most profitable for your organization to keep using, waste and so many other things, defining routes for deliveries and so many other things that can be done. So supply chain is also another big use case. Human resources, what kind of talent you have in your company, who are the most productive, who should you promote in your company, what kind of talent you need to be able to achieve the business objectives you have. All this analytics and insights can be provided through integrating AI. Also, like just on a day-to-day basis, you can have an agent that can help your employees to get onboarded in the organization, which normally is done through like manuals and training models and training modules. But having an agent, basically an onboarding body that can be an AI agent, would be such a better experience. Fraud detection, we all see on credit cards and in banking, right? Detecting fraud, looking at risk from the compliance standpoint, or KYC, AML, all those things can be detected using AI. Knowledge creation, which is now something that is new because of generative AI. You can generate content, videos, text, images, and so on dynamically on a website. So like if you're a retailer and then you want to have the abilities for your for example, let's say you're selling t-shirts, right? And then users can come to the website and upload their logo and look at the t-shirt, how it would look like. Then the generative AI can create even videos of how the person would look like wearing the specific t-shirt and so on. So those are things that can be done now. Before, you had to have a designer create the 3D model and then embed the image from the user into it. A long process. Now it's just click, call the model, here's a new image or the new video, the rendering. Something that can be done today that, last year was something that would take a lot of investment. Research and development, now with AI, you can look at not only data that's internal, but have access to the whole knowledge base of the human mind and the history of knowledge to be able to research new ideas, innovation. Predictive analytics, by looking at the data, I was talking about the enterprise service bus and how can you embed AI into this kind of like analytics and prediction to complement humans and automate the insights that can be gathered from data in the organization. Real-time operations, how can you respond in real time to data that you're getting from the operations of your business in real time, which is something that sometimes is given to managers or operations personnel, but this could be automated too. You can integrate that into, for example, robotic process automation to execute remediation task or change the specific ways that your product is being sold and offered on the web, and create new marketing campaigns to orchestrate all these different metrics that are being gathered online. So basically using AI as an operations, sales and marketing orchestrator. Customer services, I mentioned about, having kind of like agents to help customers in a more easy to understand way. The new models handle more than 150 languages by default, so they're multi-language by default, and they can switch back and forth regardless of the language. So you don't need to, let's say, pick a model that's English. The model completely understands multiple languages, even within the same conversation. You can ask one question in English, the next question in Italian, the next question in French, and then the model will understand, like if you were talking in the same language all along. Risk analysis and management, defining the risk potential for your organization based on some compliance requirements. The compliance requirements can be fed into the models to look out for potential risks in contracts, in legal agreements, in documentation you may have on the web, your privacy policies and so on, right? Your user policies and so on. So those things can be automated too. Customer insight, how can you integrate AI into the way you manage your sales cycle and understand your customers to be able to better generate personalization for customers? And then pricing and promotion, how can you set dynamic pricing for customers based on multiple trends that are not set based on some criteria that's defined by, let's say, just a bunch of people sitting down and deciding whether they're going to increase the price or not, or maybe looking at some data, but looking across all the organization, all the channels, social media, your CRM, your web traffic, and really understand the 360 of what could be the most effective pricing and promotion scheme for your company. Many things, right? So that could be done with AI. Among other use cases, but these are just some of them. So with those use cases, you now really have to look at the adoption, right, of AI in your enterprise. So defining those core AI strategies, the products and solution areas, the applications and the use cases to be able to achieve those business outcomes, whether increased customer satisfaction, cost reduction, asset optimization, new revenue, sustainable competitive advantage, more and better, faster decisions, and better risk management and compliance. So that is really the map for organizations to define this framework. And really, as next steps, we look at kind of like some 5 next steps that any organization can take today. 1, define your AI vision, identify those AI use cases, create an AI roadmap, implement that AI roadmap and iterate fast, and take feedback from users, from customers to iterate fast and keep adopting other AI use cases, and measure and success that ROI so that you can keep driving that successful competitive advantage. So with that, I'll pass it on to Victor, maybe for explanation a little bit on the 2 offerings we have, and then some closing remarks, and then we'll move on to questions.
Yeah, thanks, Renato. So as you can see here, the complimentary session is a shorter 2-hour session where we will help go through and discuss your organizational goals and objectives, and start to explore where your AI intentions and your best bets for return on investment AI may lie. And hopefully, that will uncover some great opportunity. We think most larger organizations with customer focus customer experience and large employee experience needs will greatly benefit from an AI deployment. So that gets you started. And we hope that if you have an organization that would benefit from that, you'll sign up for that 2-hour session. There's no obligation. And if you do find value in that and in the output from that session, we will provide a discounted session, which will go into detail on developing an AI roadmap for you. And that would be a fee-based session. So any questions about that? I think we're doing all of the questions through the chat.
Yeah, I have been monitoring the chat. So if there are no questions, we'll move on to Q&A session. And I have a few questions myself as well. So if no one has any questions at this stage. All right.
Katya, there's some questions I see on the chat.
Yeah. I will move on to those questions. So
okay.
I think the first question I actually wanted to ask Renato is about Google's Gemini. What do you think about it? Is it a real deal or is it like a hype? So that was the major question, I think, from the chat.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real deal. Short answer, but there is some research actually behind this. Every time there is a new technology trend, there is a lot of hype that comes with it, and it's because everybody gets excited, which is great because more people start using and knowing about the technology. But this is different because when you look at even, for example, like the research that's behind AI, this is something that has been happening for more than 40 years. So it's not something new. It's something that was already there, and a lot of companies were already adopting AI. But the problem was that it was so expensive and difficult to do that few companies actually did it well. Now with this generative AI is so easy and simple to implement as far as kind of like compared to what it was before, right? That's why everybody's jumping on board, because now they see, okay, now AI is something that I can do and we can implement in my company. I don't need a team of machine learning engineers and data scientists that are 250K salary each plus. I can actually make this happen. So I think that's what's changing. And I from seeing use cases in real life, this is definitely here to stay, and a lot of companies are adopting it across the board.
All right, amazing. So there is one question from Dwayne. Have you done any work with using AI in real world physical settings, such as have the AI in edge computers on service robots and integrate with its physical surroundings like Internet of Things, connected devices?
Yeah, so that is some use case that actually for predictive maintenance and analytics, automation that is something that it can be done as well. Like how can you automate robotics and machinery in the organization to be able to converse in seamless language. The good thing about generative AI is that it's multi-language, not only on the human language but also programming languages. So it can actually integrate really well with legacy systems that normally are the systems that are used by, let's say, more traditional machinery, and newer machinery, of course, is using more of open source models. But yeah, it's definitely something that we can explore as far as kind of like integrating IoT into machinery and automation of operations in a manufacturing setting. It's a huge opportunity. The bigger companies like Tesla and such are leading the way on this, but there's other use cases from Bosch and other companies like that. So yeah, good opportunity there.
All right, so there is a question from Xavier. How can an organization utilize an updated LLM and harness the entire world's knowledge base and train it more with internal business usage, but have complete privacy and nothing business sensitive can get out? That's an interesting question.
Yeah. So the way it works is actually you can use those foundational models, which is the LLMs that were trained on the internet's data, and then basically you take the LLM and then you grab your data set for your company and you kind of like create an instance of the LLM to train with your own data, and this data that is trained with the LLM is encapsulated in your environment, so then it doesn't escape or it doesn't go back to the original foundational model. This can be done in a cloud setting. With the cloud providers, you can do this. So yeah, it can be done, and then you keep the privacy of your data, the control of your data, and the training. You keep in your environment, so that IP or what I was saying about the data that is critical to your organization doesn't escape the company.
Yeah. And by the way, that answer lends itself to another question, which was, how do you fix the hallucinations in LLMs? And I gave the same answer in the chat, which is by restricting the LLM to just that which is necessary for responses for that business application, right? So very much the same answer.
Yeah, that's called. There's different ways, but one of them is meta prompting, which is when you build these LLMs, there's multiple layers. Like the most basic layer there is meta prompting, which is basically the prompt that you give to the LLM to instruct what it needs to do. And on that prompt, you can put rails. Like basically, you can say you're a AI assistant to work with customer service related questions based on company A. Refrain from answering questions that are not related with this use case, and then the model will understand that and it will put guardrails into any answers that you ask around anything else. Then on what I was mentioning about training with the custom data set, when you train the model with your custom data set, which is the fine tuning, you can train the model also to restrict this answers based on only your data set. And then also you can have, depending on the use case of AI, you can have, let's say, multiple threads. Every time you create a conversation with a large language model, you create a thread, which is a conversation. It's like me and you are talking about a topic, right? And then you can program the flow of this conversation to take a specific path, so you can guide the conversation in a specific way. And that is the kind of like the multiple layers where you can control the way the LLM can behave for your company.
Yeah, I think there is also a question about whether or not you can show us how you're using AI in your consulting business.
Yeah, so actually Nebulai is using AI agent on the website. On the consulting business is to generate proposals, documentation, review documents, brainstorm on ideas and things like that. It's something that we use on a day-to-day basis. It's incredible what we can do now with these new models, and it's highly has changed the way we operate on a day-to-day basis. Like, I can claim, at least on my end, it has made me more productive, probably at least by 30%, if not more, but definitely. Imagine what it can do for a whole company.
All right, there is one more technical question. So what do you think about neural processing units? Have you used one?
Yeah, well, it depends on kind of like the frame of the question. You mean by like using it in a physical setting or programming with like NRUs for specific use cases? What's I guess we'd love to.
I think it's the participant says like CPU.
Yeah, I mean, for example, like in Google Cloud, there is the specific CPUs that are kind of like created for specific models to run specific models of AI. Definitely that's something to leverage when you're building your AI models. Really pick the best processing power that can behave well with your use case. So that's a process of determining what's really on the technology stack that we were reviewing on the multiple layers of the cake there. The technology stack, that's one of the components, right? Are you going to run technology in-house and you need specific processors in your data center to handle this, or you are going to leverage the cloud to be able to do that, and then benefit from economies of scale and not having to buy the infrastructure in your own company. So I think for smaller companies, the use of the cloud is best. If you're a large company, then you can come with NPUs and then define how can you leverage your use cases for that. But yeah, it depends.
All right, I think we've run out of questions from the chat. So if anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat or Q&A section. I also have a question, actually, for both Renato and Victor. But my question is very general, I'd say. And my question is about how the discourse around the AI is going to change over the years, because it does seem that at this moment, many regulators are discussing methods how to suppress AI, and how to introduce a very comprehensive regulation. Do you think that we are going to move from, this regulating AI to a discourse about how we can best embrace AI, not only in our companies, but also in countries and the governments? What do you think about that?
That's a great question. And if I may, Renato, I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I think that we'll be using AI to regulate AI, to be honest with you. And I think that that blockchain will play a tremendous role in verifying the truth and veracity of information, because while AI has tremendous promise, it can also represent a threat in terms of its ability to create false and misinformation and to spoof identities and so on. And so there is a tremendous need for the use of blockchain. And there's a lot of good information out there, if you want to read more on this, on the intersection of AI and blockchain. And I think that's where the conversation is headed, is how do you best regulate AI? Because without restricting the productivity gains that it can offer. And I think that's really where the conversation's headed.
Thanks.
Awesome. So thanks for the feedback, guys. I think, yeah, Victor, you did it really well there. So on the ugly sweater, I'm happy to share that I bought it online. So just look for Star Wars ugly sweaters and you'll find some. But yeah, thanks guys for coming to this session. Hopefully it was informative. You got a little bit of understanding of how can you get started with AI. Please, if you complete the here the form online, we will send you a document to help you kind of like get started with an AI strategy. It's kind of like a template to define your own AI strategy. And yeah, we look forward to setting up follow-up conversations with anybody interested. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, team.